Well, let's start with your top fives, Jimmy.
You start with me.
Yeah, we'll start with you. And what I'm curious
top five
about also,
current American managers.
Yeah, top five current American managers. We'll get into historic all time, which is a little bit harder. It's like this is the Michael Jordan, LeBron James argument. But
yeah.
Okay, so here's what we got.
This is my five.
Hugo
So
Perez.
I'll go from top.
I'm trying to close my eyes, Jimmy, from like your
number five, everybody. David Wagner. He's coaching at Young Boys. They're currently second in the Swiss Super League, 10 points behind Zurich. So they got some work to do, but I think he's done great work. Jordan Pefok in particular, he's really raised his game, scored a bunch of goals. He started off as Dortmund's reserves coach under Jurgen Klopp. If Jurgen Klopp loves the guy, then how can you not love the guy? But he helped Huddersfield. He was the second ever American to manage in the Premier League. He got them promoted 2017, helped them stay up the first year they were there. Then they went down. He resigned midway through his second season in the Premier League, third season overall. And Huddersfield ended up going back down. But that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And because that Young Boys are floating around and beat Manchester United in the Champions League, there's something he's doing. And so I liked him. Robin Fraser, I thought, came out of nowhere last year with the Colorado Rapids, quietly put together a very good team. They ended up winning the Western Conference over some teams that usually you see at the top, like Seattle Sounders, or even Sporting Kansas City. And so I'm Greg Vanney and Robin Fraser are like synonymous in certain circles. And Heath and I were both coached by both of these guys. And when Vanney won everything, Greg Vanney, who's the LA Galaxy coach, won everything in Toronto, Robin was his top assistant. So they're kind of like hand in hand, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Robin. I've known him for a long time, and I just thought he did a tremendous job and really overachieved with that team. And
by the way, Jimmy, just for everybody that's listening and or watching this, do you agree with this as we go through this? Obviously, as you're listening, you're hearing Jimmy kind of go from five to one. But if you're watching this, feel free to poke some holes in this, because I promise you, mine's not the same top five, which is a good problem to have. But we want to hear from you guys and hear what you guys really think.
Okay, yeah. For everybody watching on YouTube, you can see my list. For everybody listening, you're just going to have to wait. But here's number 3, Bruce Arena. Now, unfortunate New England Revolution lost in the first round of the playoffs after they set a record for the most points in a regular season to win the Supporters Shield. Now, Bruce, who I love, now not only because he picked me to go to a World Cup, I'm going to be a little bit biased. But what I'll say is, he even admitted that the schedule wasn't necessarily fair, that maybe they got to play against some weaker teams, and he doesn't really care about
the team that he got was crap.
Yeah. I mean, he's on fire. But that said, he has a tremendous track record of getting the most out of his players, and I think they're going to be front runners again to win it. And he'll also be on my all-time list. Just a spoiler alert. Number 2, I went with Hugo Perez, which might shock a few people because they're like, isn't he the coach of El Salvador? But yes, he's also a youth national team coach for the U.S. He represented our country 70-plus times. He's in our National Soccer Hall of Fame. The guy's an absolute beast, and I wanted to give him some love because he's another coach. And I think we're maybe seeing a theme here of coaches that know how to get their teams to overachieve, to play to their potential. Maybe it's not even overachieving, but playing to their potential. And I thought Hugo Perez, not only has he done that for the full team for El Salvador, but he's also helping build their infrastructure so they can be stronger. Because just keep in mind that 48 teams qualify for the 2026 World Cup, and I know that he desperately wants El Salvador to qualify for that one, which would be very cool for them. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I think he'll be back in MLS unless he wants to stick around and finish off his project there in El Salvador. I could see it maybe going one way or the other. And then Jesse Marsch was my top, which I talked about. And now the proof's going to be in the pudding, like where he's going to be in this list after 12 games with Leeds.
Yeah, no, the one that really stands out for me is obviously Robin Fraser. I like that one a lot because he's gotten a second chance. And a lot of managers, we've seen this recycling of coaches in MLS, and we complain about it a lot. But now you're seeing somebody like Robin Fraser, which I think one is representing people of color within the league and creating more opportunities, and sort of, if you can see it, you can be it. And now having success. Obviously, I did the last game of the year for Colorado and LAFC. And LAFC had to win that game and needed some help to go into the playoffs. And they got absolutely battered by Colorado, who obviously, like you mentioned, won the Western Conference. Fell short in the end, but, started the season not that great either. But the one that really sticks out for me is the Hugo Perez, because as I was going through my list and I was writing stuff down, I was sort of thinking of like it feels a little unfair to go with European managers. It feels a little unfair to go with MLS managers. And so I was thinking, like, who is our young up-and-coming coach? And you've got everyone from Paulo Nagamura in Houston to, Pat Noonan. You've got a number of others, Jim Curtin, other guys I think are sort of cutting their teeth. And so I've tried to shape a list and ones that I think are trending at the moment, have upside for the future as well as whatever. So we'll throw up my list as well, and I'll work from 5 to 1. But I like the Hugo Perez because it's thinking outside the box, and it's not just going with the biggest club that has the biggest coach type of thing. So I'm going to go with number 5, Jim Curtin, for me. I think he's been transformational for the Philadelphia Union. I think a sign of a good coach at times, and this is my issue with Greg Vanney, is that Greg Vanney also had an incredible amount of money to spend on players and an ownership backing that I think is different than a lot of other models. And Jim Curtin's had to do it with one of the lowest budgets in the league and consistently kind of go incrementally better year after year, where, from what I understand, players enjoy working with him. He's a motivator. He's got enough of those two sides of sort of the two faces of a coach, that one demands respect, but at the same time is approachable and likable and things like that. 4, Steve Cherundolo, stepped into his first full-time head coaching job. Obviously he's been an interim in the past, but stepped into this head coaching job and had a fantastic win. Obviously helps when Carlos Vela has a hat trick to kick off the season. But he went with Vela as the number 9 over Chicho Arango, who set a bunch of records when he came into the league last year. And this is one that you and I have talked about Steve Cherundolo so much, as not just, one that we think has upside, but as a former teammate, as a person, as a player, just has all those tools and perspectives. Like you said, you play next to him and we're not too far apart in age, but you're always learning from something from that wisdom that he can impart. So I have him at number 4. Okay. Matarazzo, I went with just because, taking on he's quietly gone about his business, and very much so not been in the limelight, but I like his approach. And in fact, obviously spending more time in Europe, and like you said with David Wagner, just more time abroad, immersed into different cultures, immersed into different environments, that I think helps you to cut your teeth. Obviously, we're seeing that with Jesse Marsch and Bob Bradley and others at different points in their career, but to see somebody sort of go on that journey and go on that path and then be rewarded, I think is good. This one might be controversial, though. Number 2, for those of you that are listening to this in audio, is Gregg Berhalter. And that's just because of the fact that he's done well with this national team. The national team is a very hard job, and quite frankly, nobody wanted it after the U.S. failed to qualify for the World Cup, and he took it on the chin. Obviously, it took a long time to build it up. He went from sort of the early days where you could tell it was Berhalter going with guys that he liked, to now developing a team, developing players while also trying to get results. They haven't been the results that we want. I haven't seen the team play great for long periods, but there's still a respect I have for the fact that he's got this team in prime position to qualify for the World Cup, and he's getting enough out of these players to get results.
Okay, can I break down your stuff? Because Jesse Marsch is 1. Yeah, we good?
Yeah. Yeah, Jesse Marsch is 1.
Jim Curtin's on my cusp. So I have he's on my on the cusp list, because Philadelphia Union, I love the financial shout, because Philly have been shoestringing, at least from buying big names for a while, as opposed to, let's say, to Toronto. But
which, by the way, is connected. My 5 to my 1 is connected, because Jim Curtin's the one that helped to develop Brendan Aronson, who's likely going to be sold on to Leeds United. And by the way, Leeds United, there's going to be a secondary sell-on fee for Philadelphia Union, which is going to help bolster their club. And so I think that there's just some connective tissue to the development of players that Jesse Marsch is going to sign. Sorry, go ahead. Poke holes.
No, Jim Curtin. I just want to give a shout out to Jim
Who's
Curtin.
this? By the way, hold on. Who's this N1234? What's this burner account you have?
I have a ton of burner accounts. Don't worry about it.
This guy or gal saying Conrad's top 5 way better. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be in the line of fire, no problem. But at least poke holes in it. Let's go.
So I'm gonna. No, Jim Curtin, I love. He's on the cusp of getting there. Over the last 3 seasons, regular seasons in MLS, only one team, or of course only one team, but the best team over 3 years in terms of getting points in the regular season MLS is the Philadelphia Union. And I think that really speaks volumes about what Jim Curtin has done, and by also selling some players, and wanting to, not like at first we used to be very territorial. We got a good young player, we're not selling him anywhere. We're going to keep him and market him, and that's what we're going to do. But now it's no, we're going to send him off into the wild. He's ready to go. Let's do it. And so I like Jim Curtin. I like that ad a lot. He's on the cusp.
Jimmy, you know who didn't start this weekend was the best player for Philadelphia Union when he came on the field?
Who's that?
Paxton Aronson, Brendan's brother. Another player that's going to come right through and probably end up at Leeds. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be amazing? I don't know if Brendan would like that. Hey, dude, this is you got to go take your baby steps somewhere else, like I did at RB Salzburg. All right, so number 4, Steve Cherundolo. Listen, love the guy with all my heart. I might be a little bit early to put him on the top 5 American coaches.
He would even admit
that.
It's a power ranking.
Okay, fine.
The guy battered Colorado, who battered them to the end of the season. One of the best teams that was in the league last year.
I get it. Colorado has Robin Fraser. I get it. I guess I'm thinking more of like over the last year and maybe not like this past weekend. But fair. Number 3, Matarazzo. Dude, Stuttgart's in the relegation zone. They've been sucking it this year. Now, I will say that I really love what he's done. And it shouldn't go, if it's by power rankings, Matarazzo, Pellegrino Matarazzo, I think he's be a little bit more of like a lifetime achievement award for what he's done at Stuttgart.
That's fair. I will take that note, Jimmy, and I will put it in the comment box next to my bed.
Okay, so I'll jump to number 1, Jesse Marsch. We're on the same page. Number 2, Gregg Berhalter. Now, the only reason I didn't put Gregg in my top 5, and Sergio said, "Wow, that was interesting. No Berhalter."
Yeah, because you didn't want to get punched in the face by the comment section.
No. I've got no problem. He's number 1 on my on the cusp list, Berhalter. But what I'm going to judge him on is qualifying for the World Cup. Qualifying for the World Cup is what I'm judging him on. I love that we won the Nations League, first time that tournament was ever held, and even then, fortunate to get the results that we did. But we take him. Gold Cup, I actually thought that was his most tremendous performance as a manager over a certain period of time. World Cup qualifying, not as convinced, but I don't give a shit about that as long as we qualify. So I can't put him in my top 5 until we qualify. And once we do, he's going way up the charts. Okay, he's going way up the top. So that's my one issue with Gregg. I just that's his job is to qualify for the World Cup, and then once we get there, second part of his job is to actually have a good run. But I can't. I get where you're coming from, but I can't. It was interesting to your point of I haven't really been happy with his performances. I see glimpses, but not like and so I agree. But this isn't a pile on Gregg. I do think he's done a lot of great things, and I think he's broadened our player pool, and the future's so incredibly bright that makes me excited.